Good morning. Hello, everybody. How are you? Welcome to Wednesday. I don't know what day it is anymore. Welcome to Wednesday, everybody. Are you good? How are you doing? Who is first past the post this morning with the comments? It's becoming a bit of a competition. I love it. Danielle Hobson, first past post this morning. Good morning, my angel. How are you? Welcome, welcome. I'm not quite so glamorous today. Those of you that saw me in my stories yesterday and in the hive yesterday will have seen I was looking pretty glam. I had my photo shoot for my book cover yesterday and it was good. It was really good. It was super exciting. We did get the money shots. We did get the book cover shots, which I am absolutely thrilled about. I can't show you them because they are current. So I can't even get my words out that excited you lot. So the photographer, the incredible Simon from Alt Studios, do go and check them out, by the way, because they are fantastic. I had my hair done, I had my makeup done. The makeup artist was just phenomenal. The makeup and hair artist was just phenomenal. We had like lots of different concepts that we had to play around with, and then he sent me the shots that I needed to choose from, so that because we need to get these photos into the publishers like today, ready to get the rest of the book all put together, because this is just like the last bit that we're waiting for. So we've chosen our book cover pictures, sent them back. So the edited ones will be back today, which I'm very excited about. Also, Danielle Hansen, who is my operations manager, came with me as a bit of my lady in waiting. She was like fluffing my dress out, and her arm actually features on one of the photos on the book cover, which is brilliant. For one of the concepts that we did, but we also had a bit of a team shot as well. So Danielle had her hair and makeup done, and we had a bit of a team shot, so we could pop that on the website as well. So I was made up. It was a really good day. But I'm tired. It was a long day. Shooting days are long. Like, it's hard being a model. It's hard being a cover model, you guys. But yeah, I cannot wait to show you them. I cannot wait. Excuse me. So, what else do I have to tell you? I have to tell you that Friday is going to be the last day that you can sign up. Or Friday, we open the pop-up group for the Be Heard So You Want to Be a Speaker challenge. So if you are not signed up to that already, come and get amongst it. Just along the ticket along the bottom is how you can. That is the site that you need to click. I'll also put it in the comments as well. If not, get in my inbox and say, Danny, I want to do the challenge. For those of you that don't know, what is the challenge? So next week, Monday to Thursday, and we'll have a celebration on Friday. Monday to Thursday, I am going to be helping you get speaking. So this is speaking for the people who maybe haven't done speaking before, either in real life or online. It is speaking for people who have already cut their teeth from a speaking point of view, but want to tighten up all the nuts and bolts. So there's lots of things. Next week is one of my favorite weeks in the IATQB diary, alongside Be Inspired, which is our in real life event where the graduates in my speaker mastermind will be speaking for you all, which is really exciting. That's happening on the 15th of October. So if you are not signed up to the Speaker Challenge yet, get amongst it. We are going to have an absolute scream next week. I've not even made a big deal of the prizes. The prizes are kick ass. So we've got prizes of Harvey Nichols hampers. We've got £250 in Amazon vouchers. We've got strategy sessions with me, IATQB merch. There's all sorts up for grabs just for taking part, and it's completely free to take part. So it's Be Heard So You Want to Be a Speaker, the challenge. Make sure you get yourself signed up. We open the gates to the group on Friday, ready for kickoff on Monday. Oh, I can't wait. So that is, and I'm going to be banging the drum. I told you I was unapologetic about this from a couple of weeks ago. I want to help as many of you as possible, especially given that, it's all a bit tenuous again out there. It all feels a bit weird again out there, doesn't it? Morning, Joanne Smith. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, Karen Dawkins. Yeah, it all kind of feels a bit weird. That pressure cooker's starting to simmer away again a little bit. And I just want us as a group of awesome people together to just kind of reconvene, take a breath, and have a think about what your online speaking strategy is going to be, what your offline speaking strategy is going to be, if you have one. So, because this is finite, whatever is going on right now, I know it feels like we're in the thick of it. I know it feels like it's a big pain in the balls, but it is finite. So what would be great is if as many of you as possible that I can get my hands on, have a speaking strategy for online so that you can get talking about online. And it's like I said to you yesterday, I did a live on it. I'd stopped speaking for the past 6 months about singing, and all of a sudden new people that are coming to me are going, are you a singer? 6 months, that's how long it's taken for an audience to forget about what it is that I do. So it really is important for you to be speaking, especially if if you're in the events industry, especially if you are in the wedding industry and you're feeling a little bit lost right now. Come along and come and get some love from the queen bees that are taking part, and the king bees and the royal bees that are taking part in the challenge, but also to get a little bit of a strategy in place about how do you stay at the forefront of people's minds and at people's hearts when they are when they maybe don't have so many events booked in, or if things have been kiboshed a little bit. So I want to be helping as many of you as possible. Right, tell me, what is the weather doing where you are? It is not scorchio in Preston this morning. It is definitely raining. It's not even a bit shit. It's just chucking it down. What is the weather doing? Katie Page is in. Look at this. I love it. Joanne Smith. It's funny. I was talking last night in a group, and one of the things to come out of this challenge isn't just being able to speak, isn't just like having the confidence to be able to go live. I've seen people's businesses really grow off the back of just doing the challenge, but also the friendships that are formed and the collaborations that have been formed as part of doing it because of the support that you get in there that week. So it's so worth it. Katie Page, you are in it. Yes, I'm excited to see you in there. Nicole, she's commented along. She's waiting there patiently backstage having a sip of a brew, ready to come into the live this morning. It's raining a mizog in Hertfordshire. Is it raining or is it just a bit shit, Nicole? What is it? It's raining or she said it's raining. It's raining. Katie says it's pissing it down. Whereabouts? Sorry, it's a bit shit. Is Shropshire? Is that Shropshire? Oh God, I need to put my teeth in. Right. So I think it's just a mixture of rainy. I'm just going to do this, you guys. It's raining and it's a bit shit all over the spot today. Let's see, Scotland. Let's represent Scotland up here and Ireland over here, and let's represent elsewhere. No, they're going to be scorching, aren't they? Because they're going to be laughing at us. There we go. That's the rest of the world over there. It is chucking it down. It's a bit, look at everything. It's a bit shit. I love how Joanne Smith says that the silver clouds. It's not, it's grey clouds. You're allowed to say it. It's a bit shit. Because we're in the UK and that's what happens. Silver clouds. It's grey. It's a bit shit. No, it's raining. Sandra, weather is shit damn shit, but you brighten up my morning. Oh, thank you. It's wet and dreary in Bexley-on-Sea. I think we should just agree that throughout the UK, it's a bit shit fronts and behinds and sideways all the way through. But we will not despair. It is warm in the cockles of our hearts, you guys. I am excited this morning. I'm excited every morning. I know I'm unapologetically excitable, but I'm excited this morning because we've got a lovely guest on. I'm really excited to have her. We're going to be talking small businesses. We're going to be talking about balance because I need that conversation right now because your girl's tired. And also right now for small businesses, we need to be having some conversations. So we've got the perfect guest on for you this morning. In the guise of the glorious and the beautiful and the delectable Nicole Louise Weiner. Good morning.
Hello.
Morning, everybody. Good morning, my angel. How are you?
I'm lovely. I'm good. How are you?
You are lovely. That's right. You are very lovely. I'm really good. Thank you. So thank you so much for getting up this morning. I know I feel like I almost have to apologize to people for coming onto my show because they have to get up earlier than they anticipate.
I'm usually not awake until 9 o'clock. I do love a sleep. We were talking about this before in the pre-show ramble between us. And I'm normally not up till 9. I love a nap. Like that's part of my balance. childcare. Yeah.
Well, do you know what? I'm going to live vicariously through you for that. I wish I could stay in bed till 9 o'clock. My 3 children and this show and the rods that I create for my own back negate the allowance for me to be able to have that kind of lie-in. That is a luxury that I can only get once I think once my eldest can kind of get up and help me do the school.
That is something to aim for when we talk about goals.
That is it. Like, goals are the first goals were that the kids were able to make cereal, then toast. Now they can make scrambled eggs. Now Poppy can make bacon butties. Like, I am winning at life. But Nicole, once again, like I say, thank you for joining us this morning. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, thanks for having me. What do I do? That's a great question. I am a business coach and a productivity strategist, business and freedom coach. So what do? I work with small businesses, businesses of all sizes, really, but a lot of us don't like to always claim the title that we are
a big business.
We don't like to always aim big. So
yeah,
mostly online service-based business owners, but it depends really. I like to work with good people. That's what my thing. I like to work with good, kind people.
It's awful working with knobheads. It's better to work with good people.
For that, yeah, definitely. I just always try. I do actually swear quite a bit. I am from Essex.
God, you're in the good company, sweetheart. Come on in.
but I just headphones warning sometimes for kids. That's all I have to be careful of.
That's exactly why these are in my ears.
They can't hear. Funny. And I empower people with the choice that you can make that choice to have a successful business and a happy life if you know how. And I'm really, really passionate about this, about being able to run a business alongside the life and people you love. And you can have all the things. You don't have to make that choice. You can have business success and you can have freedom, and you can create and design that life around you. And a lot of people, all those things we talk about money stories and about all those other kinds of things where we believe, and I have this because my parents ran a business, and where you have to work hard to earn money.
It's got to be hard won.
Yeah, and I can fall into this trap myself where I will want to work all the time because I love what I do, and we all love what we do. But if you design it and you do that from the beginning, or even if you've been doing it a while, you can tweak and change that around your models and around your business models, around what you do and how you actually really want that to look in the future. You can start making adjustments and build things around what that freedom is that you want, because otherwise we may as well work in a 9-to-5 as an employee and have other people make the rules for us, because as a business owner we get to choose.
And we forget we think the world stops turning when we stop. It's very selfish. I remember getting ill, and my former music teacher, who I'm still, Ian Gray, is fantastic, man. He was a real great male role model for me when I was at school, and then onwards we became friends. And I remember working myself into the ground and making myself poorly, and like burnout was knocking at the door, and I wanted to give stuff up. I just wanted to run away from everything, and I was feeling ill. And he went, "You're a very self-important woman." I went, "What do you mean? You think the world's going to stop if you rest? Stop it. Go and rest."
But also, as a kind and giving person, it's almost like we take on that responsibility for others as well, because we have this gift that we want to give. And then that all comes into the bit that I teach about boundaries as well, because I think a lot of people think that like boundaries are like usually associated with negativity and dirty words, because we're told that boundaries mean no. But actually, boundaries are beautiful. And boundaries mean no and yes. If you can set that intention from the beginning, whether you call that intention or goals or strategy or whatever you look at, you really can make that choice about designing that life for you, that business, everything else that supports that life, so that you make the choice to know when to say yes, when to say no, and do all of those things. And my parents ran a business together. They still run it. It's in catering, so this year has been diabolical.
Oh my gosh.
But their business gave us an amazing and brilliant life. We had a brilliant life. We have a brilliant life now because of it. But we missed out on a lot because they worked every weekend, they worked every evening, and we will never get that time back.
No, exactly.
I don't want that for everyone else. I want you to have the freedom. I want you to design it. And when I went on to join the corporate world, I thought that maybe it'd be different, and the paid employees would have that better balance. And I worked in all these different departments, sales. I worked in like the head office team for a global investment bank, working in like wealth and financial planning in the sales teams, supporting the execs there with all the streamlining workloads and processes, marketing, global risk, all the places I worked. I ran teams of like 500 with the execs. And no matter what I did, they didn't have balance either. That exec who was right at the top with me as an ops director, essentially, no matter what we did, that was never enough. And I don't want that. And I knew I could make a big impact doing what I do now, because actually, and I've always, that cheesy thing about wanting to change the world.
Yeah. No, it's not cheesy. Like, what? It's not. Why not? Why not want to create a legacy? Why not want to make an impact? So, like, I don't hide from the fact that I am here for this. I want to make, I'm like a little fishy in a big pond, but I'm going like this to try to make ripples.
That's exactly it. And I think, and then I studied for a psychology degree.
Yeah.
Whilst I was working full time, so I talk about balance like craziness in my 20s, trying to have a social life, relationship, not the guy I'm with now, but yeah, whatever. But yeah,
it's a practice one.
Yeah, exactly that. And then and doing all of that as well, and studying for a degree whilst I was working was intense. Like,
that is some plates to spin. That is some plates to spin.
It was nuts, really. But I loved the subject, so and did that. And everyone was saying to me, like, why are you studying for this psychology degree? You're like managing, you're in banking. What's this got to do with anything? And I was like, because I want to help people. People are at the core of everything, and that's what psychology is about. And I bring that to what I do now, because I have this core understanding of people from studying them for years.
Yeah, that's it.
Let alone working in banking and seeing all kinds of different people.
Oh, you get to see all kinds of people. Especially in corporate as well, you get to see all that. It's like when you work in corporate, the office and the structure, it's like living in a bubble. But you get to see everybody at their best and at their worst when you're working in those structures.
Yeah, boundaries are beautiful. Yeah, definitely.
And they are. Like, it's still taking me a little while to get, because I think everything is a process where this is concerned, where you're trying to create balance. Because when you're starting a business, it's hard because you are pushing the stationary car. And when you're pushing anything that is stationary, you've got to put in some legwork at the start. But like you say, if you design that growth and say, okay, right, at the beginning, there is going to be a degree of a year potentially where things are going to be a push. But the intention is that once we have pushed, we then can stream back all of the things that we were pushing on, because we will have started the momentum by then. Even when you're in that push stage, it was really difficult for me to understand that, you know, there would needed to be a day off in there, because a rested Dani is a more productive Dani than a tired Dani trying to be super productive. So I was working through the week.
I coach people now that have like been in their business for 10 years and have never, in the last 4 haven't had a proper day off. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, one of my clients, and I said to them, okay, so what does a holiday look like for you? They were like, I really need some time off, especially this year. People some people have been really, really fortunate and have been really, really busy during lockdown. I think especially as business owners, that's our coping mechanism as well, to be busy in our businesses, because it's what we love. It's a way to escape all the other stuff that's going on. Definitely for me, that's definitely a thing. And then, it's lovely, isn't it, to focus on what we love? What a gift we have. And then I was like, so what does a holiday look like for you? And I was like, so I gave them some suggestions. I was like, so that means no social media, no emails, that means no client work. And they were like, yeah, I really need to think about this.
Yeah, I don't think we can, this is not going to work.
I was like, but what's a holiday? Because I know when you run a business, it's different, but that might need to mean we need to look at bringing someone in to help you, because, and this is what I'm good at too, because if you can't take that break, your brain is not resting, and you will not be creative, and you will not be productive, and you will not be able to do all of those things. And we don't gift ourselves with that. We're not giving ourselves permission to do that, because we're just running on this. We end up running on empty.
And you wonder why people are feeling stress and anxiety and, or they're burning out, or they're getting to the point where they're folding their businesses because they just can't. Like, they think it's such a hard slog. And you're right, it doesn't have to be like that. And do you know what? The interesting thing is, when you really start to respect your time, other people respect your time. It's really strange how this happens. At the start of lockdown, the whole singing leg of my business got kicked out, so I wasn't able to sing of a weekend anymore. But before then, I was working in the week and working at the weekend. There was no day off for Dani. At the start of lockdown, I started to protect my weekends. I started to stop working, apart from the odd time where it was completely unavoidable. But for the most part, I've not been working at the weekends, which means that when I get into the week, even stepping up to a Monday, I feel like I'm taking a run up to a Monday and I'm excited to get going again, as opposed to, oh God, it's Monday tomorrow, I've got to keep going. There's no finish line in sight. When I started to protect my weekends, people messaged me at the weekends and I didn't feel compelled to respond. If they've stopped messaging me at the weekends now because they know that I don't want to work at the weekends. So nobody's asking me anything now at the weekends. I was readily making myself available because I was on my phone anyway, 10, 11 o'clock at night, and someone would have like a brain fart and put something in my inbox and I'd be like, oh, I'll just respond to that because I'm there now. But the expectation is that then I'm going to respond to emails at all times. Actually, when I started to say,
that costs you money. So time is money. Right. So if you're working at the weekends, yes, okay, there's a whole part, especially in the online space, about nurturing audiences and nurturing relationships and keeping them strong. And yes, absolutely. But that costs you money. And time is money, or it's taking you away from the people that you love, the guilt thing.
Yeah, which is the most expensive thing of all.
And especially as parents, like, I'm not a parent yet, but I'm designing my life now for what it will look like. And I don't want my life to look like that. I've been on the people say, and I hate guilty marketing stuff, but this is a really important message. So,
say it, sister. Don't hold back.
So kids don't remember. People say, children won't remember this. I'm doing this to create a life for them. I'm telling you, they remember. I was that child.
Yeah.
But I'm not ungrateful. However, I remember.
Yeah.
It did mean that I had an amazing relationship with my grandparents because we spent a lot of time with them. I cared for my nan for 2 years when I set my business up. She had dementia. Well, she's got dementia. She's in a home just a couple of miles away, and I see her. I was seeing her often, not now, obviously.
No, yeah, my dad's in a home, and I've not been allowed to see him for like 6 months. It's crazy.
I saw her yesterday. The second time I've seen her during lockdown. We'll talk about lockdown in a sec. But
yeah.
I don't go out a lot, but yeah, seeing her yesterday was lovely. But again, like all of that, it's all time, isn't it? So it's really, really important. And the reason I have an amazing relationship with her is because my parents worked all the time. A gift, again, the reflection. It's amazing to do that. But my parents' business did take them away from us as kids. We had great holidays. We did lovely things in the winter because their business was seasonal. But the time, so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
You make that choice. And if you don't want to do that, it's about you setting those boundaries. A lot of the time, people then start resenting their business or resenting their clients. And actually, it's on us to set the boundaries and to communicate them clearly in either our content or our messaging or any of those other things. And
I feel attacked this morning, Nicole. You're telling me all the things that I need to be doing. I feel seen. Also, I don't feel attacked like you should. But it is.
And when you do it, Dani, though, as a leader, you're a leader as well. So as a leader, people will follow. And that's a really powerful thing to be able to do when you have a platform. Like when I do it, I notice that my audience do it. You know, if I do that in the club, people do it as well. If I do that, if I send an email out, people, I notice people start doing it. They tell me, you've inspired me to do this, which is it's a beautiful thing to be able to do. And sometimes that can be really hard when we have to be vulnerable a little bit as well, to admit that we haven't been doing this.
Yeah.
But it's important.
It is, absolutely. I think one of the nice things is that in here, or in this particular community, like we're not hiding anything. Like people get to see, like my kids come on in the morning, like this is where we're residing. I'm working from my bedroom. Like we're still in that process of design. We're still in that process of trying to work it out, because this is the online space is new. Having an income that is not entertainment based is still, in the grand scheme of things, relatively new. We're only 18 months into the sustainable business that we have online. And we're still trying to kind of work out, okay, so at the beginning, that was grind. And then it was, wait a second, that's not good. We need to protect your weekends, Dani. So now we're protecting my weekends. And now it's coming back even further and saying, okay, the girls are now back at school. The girls are now back at school. So you've got time there where you could be really super productive. You don't have to spin all the plates. You can design that time now to make sure that you're super productive during that time. And then we could do things like the school run. We could do things like the school pickup. It's nice to be able to say, I'm actually finishing. I don't know if anyone else is finding this, by the way, but since the kids went back to school, that I've been finishing a little bit earlier. So when we were in lockdown, I was working right the way through and it was ridiculous. But actually, when now the kids are back at school, I have to leave my desk to go and pick them up. And like, I'm having to make a conscious effort to say, you've got to, I can't do anything during this time. I start to block it out like I would a doctor's appointment. But actually, it's meaning that I'm stepping away and then I'm allowing myself to think, all right, well, I'll do the washing up, or I'll cook tea, or all of those sorts of things. It's a constant state of growth for me.
Yeah. And do you know what else I think is that whole thing about time costing money, or relationships or whatever else it costs, and that kind of thing, either with others or yourself, that the first year, a couple of years of business is potentially more difficult than the other stages as you grow. But the growth stages are also tricky. So I think can be tricky as you up level, and everyone's talking about up leveling and all those other
new levels bring different devils.
I love that. But it doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be hard if you know what the strategy is, what the end goals are, and that you design it. And that's why it's important to know what it looks like for you. And it won't be the same. It won't look the same for everybody.
It's just like success doesn't look the same for everybody, does it? It might be financial, it might be time, it might be holidays, it might be a relationship. Like success, it might be adventure, it might be uncertainty. There's all these things, self-connection, all these things that successful. It's the same, isn't it? It's all very much sort of about who you are and what your core values are, about how you want to spend that time.
So say, for example, one of the things I get people to do is to look at when their most productive hours are. So some people are like on it in the morning and they get all their energy in the morning. Like we said, doesn't tend to be me. So I won't have my client calls in the morning because they're not going to get the best from me.
Get the best of you.
But some people will be like, yeah, but that's what my clients want. Well, they're probably not the best people that you're working with then. The alignment isn't there. Regardless of whether these people are going to pay you, you need to find people that are going to align with you. Otherwise, you're trying to adjust your life and you're going to start resenting it. It's not going to work. So in the first couple of years, you might be trying to adjust and fix and change. How about we look at you? Let's build a business around what you love and want. Let's build it around your life. And I think that's one part. And then we look at, is your business profitable? So time is money, number one. People don't account for that. They look at maybe their expenses. Some people don't even look at that. And then
I got an ops manager in to start looking after that because I wasn't looking after that, and I ended up having to get a team in.
Yeah, but people are scared of numbers. And don't get me wrong, like I'm no good at quick maths. I need a calculator, but that's what a spreadsheet's for, and that's what when I go through numbers with my clients, I'm like, wait, we need the calculator.
Hang on, we need a calculator. Same.
But you need to understand where your profit margins are, because if you're not making profit, then the business needs to make money.
Why are you in business? Otherwise it's just like money floating around and none of it's yours.
And especially in the online space, really, realistically, your costs are relatively low.
Yep.
So your profit should be high. And if it isn't, you need to look at that. And then that in the first couple of years, especially in the online space, it shouldn't be hard to make money. If you're doing it right, you can grow an audience, you know who you're selling to, you know your ideal client, you know all of those things that you're working out, because it shouldn't be difficult if you know how to network, how to get yourself visible, which is something obviously challenge next week. And then shameless plug. And then but all that stuff, if you know how to do all of those things and bring it all together and how to work smart, you can, you know, it doesn't have to be difficult.
No.
And looking at when we talk about balance, when I talk about balance and freedom, what it looks like for you, because it won't look the same for everybody. So if somebody else is saying, I only want to work a 2-day week, that might not be your idea of freedom.
Right.
That might not be your idea of balance. So you might want to work at the weekends, because actually you shift that time off into the week, because your week looks different.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Absolutely. It's difficult as well, I think, when you're in it and having somebody out there like yourself that can kind of start to help you see the woods for the trees, because having somebody on the outside asking you the questions that are going to lead you to be able to look at it like objectively is much easier than being sat in the middle of it, looking around you with all this chaos all around you, thinking, how do I get out? You can't see your way out of the wasp's nest. You've got to have someone who's able to kind of break it open for you and just say, like, look here, you know, we've got space here, or, you know, holding the space for you to give this some thought, because this is another thing that we don't do for ourselves as businesses. We don't hold space for ourselves. We are constantly hurtling from one to-do list to the next, And actually, for somebody to hold, this is why people work with me in the capacity that they do. Say, I went to Italy last week. I don't know if you saw, with a client, and we did Monday. It was 3 days. It was a 3-day one-to-one intensive, because she needed the space held for her to pull all her stories out, because she wouldn't have any other way. She needed to set that time out of her diary. She needed to set that time out of her work in order to create her talks, because she wouldn't have held the space. And we do this in so many ways. So like for people coming to you, for example, from a whole operations point of view and a balance point of view, you get to hold that space for them so that they can think about it, so they don't have to try and find it from inside the wasp's nest, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I see my entire career has been about seeing things up here. So, and I think a lot of people trust is a really important thing in that, because they open up and tell me a lot about a lot of things. So that's one thing. And then sometimes they don't feel ready to, or they're not sure that they have enough to tell me. And then there's all the different skills I bring to that. So there's a bit of coaching, there's a bit of mentoring, there's a bit of consultancy that comes into all the different parts of what I do. And bringing that all together as a hybrid is a really powerful thing to be able to do, because where I sit up here, I can see how to make all the tweaks and changes. And even sometimes by somebody saying or doing a small thing, they're actually telling me quite a lot, and they don't always realize that.
There's tells. There are tells when you start to tell people. It's even the language that you use, isn't it? It's even the language that I don't have enough time. Like, girl, you do have enough time. Like, there is lots of time. We've got all the same. Richard Branson's got the same amount of time as you, and he does all sorts of crazy shit. So, you know, we've all got the same
a lot of money and a massive team.
Correct. But he didn't start with that, though, did he? You know, he did all the things, did all the crazy things. But yeah, I've used this analogy before. It's like having a pocket watch and having somebody who's able to open the pocket watch and see how all the cogs fit together. And being able to say, actually, this could run more smoothly if it had more spokes on it, or this could run more smoothly if you oiled it here, or if you took this piece out, actually it would run even whizzier because it's clunky here. You know, being able to see things like that is you know, it's a real gift. And obviously you spent such a long time honing your skills in this area, especially in corporate and out of corporate. And I think, I don't know what anybody else thinks about this, me standing on my soapbox, you've got to have an experience of both to understand how it all works. Understanding big business or understanding small business is understanding business.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Yeah.
I think it's just having a breadth of knowledge definitely helps. It definitely helps me with my life. But then that's what I bring. That's the skills that I bring. That's what I teach. That's what I coach in. That's what I my courses bring that. I bring that to my one-to-one clients. That's what I do. So and I think that thing that you said there about not having enough time, when we say we don't have enough time, one of the key things that I always do in any of my talks, which you'll be proud of saying I do that, is that with my psychology degree, one of the things that always really fascinated me was self-confirmation bias. This underpins almost everything that mindset coaches teach you to do when they tell you to flip the narrative. So with self-confirmation bias, we want to be right. And we look for evidence to prove ourselves right. So if you're telling yourself things like, I don't have enough time, you will always look for evidence to prove that you don't have enough time. We take in so much information, you wouldn't believe the amount of information you actually take in, but we choose to process information that we need. So you will choose to process that information for the things that you're looking for evidence for. So try to see if you can say things, and it may seem a bit extreme, so you might need to take smaller steps towards it. Right? I have all the time in the world. That may seem a bit much. So what I try to get my clients to do is say things like, I have enough time when I plan. Which is obviously something that comes into a key part of what I do is strategy and planning. So if you feel in control of the situation, so you're looking for the evidence for where you have, you will have enough time when you plan. And a really key way to understand this is the cocktail party effect. So obviously we're not going out as much now, but if you're in a really loud and crowded room and you're having a conversation and all these other people around you, there's loads of noise, and then you hear your name. You can't hear anything they're saying, then you hear your name. You instantly switch on to that conversation. And before you couldn't hear that. That is that's part of what the confirmation bias is, because you are actually processing all that information, and all of a sudden you hear that.
It resonates with you, something that resonates with what you know.
Yeah, but you were actually processing all that stuff, but you didn't know about it. It was all going into your subconscious brain. So you need to start telling yourself things that you want to see. I have all the time in the world. I have enough time when I plan, rather than I don't have enough time. Otherwise, you're never going to feel ever like you have enough. I'm overwhelmed. I've got too much to do. How about I'm in control of this? I have enough time when I plan. I'm in control of this to-do list. I have enough time for what I want to do. Those kinds of things they're very, very powerful. That's how affirmations work.
Right. And people think, like, we talk about woo on the show, we talk about non-woo, we talk about woo adjacency, we talk about like the spectrum of woo. Affirmations they are a psychological tool that you can use on yourself that has a positive effect on your life, or a negative if you don't use them right. But affirmations aren't just saying, I've got £1 million in the bank, I've got £1 million in the bank, I've got £1 million in the bank, and then expecting £1 million in the bank. It's about saying that it's using the language for you to do that confirmation work. So, okay, so you start scouting for money. I have £1 million in the bank. Like, when's that £1 million coming? Like, where's that going to come from? You start to solution seek around that £1 million.
Love solution seeking.
You start thinking, okay, so this is a possibility now, because I'm saying it, so I'm gonna have to find it. But it's doing that, isn't it? It's using it as a positive psychological tool that you can use to get shit done.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Definitely. 100%.
So, Nicole, you work with small businesses, and when we say small businesses, and even though you said at the start, I would consider myself in size a small business, I have quite a large fucking business, quite a big business. So when people are viewing themselves as a small business, quite often they're a little bit bigger than maybe what they would give themselves credit for, isn't it? I am only just stepping into the fact that I'm having to accept the fact now that, we've got a lot of cogs running in our stopwatch. Like, we are quite an organization now. How is it that you help people now, and how have they found, or what's been the the spectrum of businesses that you work with, and how have they found the last few months, and how have you found your community, your small business community, in the past few weeks, in the run up to some of the announcements yesterday?
This year, honestly, my clients have been amazing. The way that they have adapted and shifted and changed have been amazing. Because they are mostly online. So they're online service-based business owners who can make that shift and who can change and adapt. Obviously, sometimes they need a little bit of support in terms of, which is what I do, in terms of that creativity or thinking about diversifying some stuff and offering new services out about audience need and stuff, which is what I help them to do and think around. And it's a key part anyway in terms of business is innovation and seeing what your clients want at the time and being able to offer it and having the capacity to do it. So this year, I'm proud of them all, to be honest.
This is what happens when you get good people in your corner. I've had good people in my corner all the way through lockdown. So it isn't survivor's guilt that I feel, but lockdown hasn't been horrific. It's not been horrific for my business. It's not been horrific for the people that are around me. And it isn't because it isn't a horrific situation. And there are people out there that are struggling. And, it is tough. I mean, particularly, I just want to send a huge amount of love to all of our friends in the wedding industry who are experiencing the toughest of times right now, because it is A, uber ambiguous, and B, we just don't. It's that ambiguity, and that the changing of the goalposts is incredibly difficult. And as particularly small businesses, we need to remain nimble, and it allows us when we don't have bricks and mortar businesses, that we can remain agile and we can be a little bit more nimble. And for any of you out there that are struggling right now, there are people like Nicole out there who can help you sort of process how you can work through those things and have a look at what what your strategy and what your planning could be. I'm telling them the right things, aren't I, Nicole?
I can. In terms of wedding businesses, obviously they're more business to customer, and I do a bit more B2B stuff.
B2B, really makes sense.
But if they wanted to talk through strategy stuff with me, I'd be open to doing that if that's something they wanted to do. There are some coaches who do work specifically with the wedding industry. So I think they'd probably be a little bit better suited to it.
I hear you.
But I welcome people into the community in terms of brainstorming. I was actually thinking this morning as I was doing my face for you, I was thinking about offering a brainstorming session tomorrow for the club. So just as like a free thing on Zoom for them just to come together in case people with the announcements and how they're feeling, because we do have
feeling a little bit jittery.
Of all different sort of feelings. And because of how I've felt during lockdown myself, business aside, business has been amazing for me. Like we said, it's where our love and passion is, so I've been able to concentrate there. Personally, I've found it really difficult, which I've tried not to talk about too much, because
you don't want to sit unpacking your shit for everybody. That's not what we're here for. But there is a degree of being real, isn't there?
There is, and it makes me feel a little bit vulnerable. In that there's a hell of a lot of opinions out there in how this is all going and how it works, and if people are saying that they're struggling with it because so for me personally, the reasons that I'll share is I'm asthmatic. My mum had we all live on a farm in Hertfordshire, and they live next door. If you can hear the tractor, that's why I'm going past at the moment. It gets loud. My nan lived here before she went into a home. And obviously we're worried about her. If we do go and see her, we have to be really, really careful. My dad had sepsis 2 years ago. My mum had pneumonia. I'm asthmatic. So we have to be really, really careful with our health. And I'm really, really worried about losing people. So I've struggled with that. I have struggled with that. And I'm not really an anxious, worried kind of person. That's not
you, but it's directly impacting your health. And this is, it's hard when people are so divided, and when you are sharing a vulnerability in that light, I can understand how, just like for me, where I'm like, well, I've had it. I don't feel as strongly about it for me in myself. But yeah, of course, because that's from where I come from in the world. That doesn't mean to say that my friends with autoimmune diseases or my dad or, the people that are around me, I'm not fearful for, or I don't, love on them and understand why they would be feeling vulnerable around that. I think that it's hard when you're the person that is feeling vulnerable not to feel got at by the people who are like, it's just the flu. Well, it's not just the flu, is it, when you're ill? It's not just the flu when you have an underlying issue, and people aren't disposable. You can't just say, it's only the people that are old. It's only the people that have underlying issues. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
What about Nicole? It's only Nicole. All right, brilliant. So
and
yeah, I absolutely get that.
Me, like, I think, honestly, I don't think my mum and dad they are worried about it, obviously, but they're not as worried as I am. They're still going out and they're still doing a couple of things, but I'm not really. So I think I'm more worried about them than they're worried about them. But that's just in my nature. I worry about everyone. Yeah, but again, talking about that, because of the way that some of the opinions are, and some of the opinions are incredibly strong, it's easier for me not to talk about that. But that doesn't make it any different to the way that I do what I do.
Yeah. No.
So and it's interesting to talk about it, actually, because I don't normally. And I feel quite safe. Yeah. And yeah, it's interesting because, again, I can get lost in my business, and that's one of my safe places. Obviously, safe place here on the farm with land and lovely animals, and then and a safe place in my business. So yeah, it's interesting. It's been an interesting year for me. Not like, obviously this was completely unexpected for everyone. Nobody knew this was coming. But then again, at the same time, like, I'm engaged. We wanted to get married this year. We didn't plan anything. We hadn't had anything, thank God, because we wanted to get married.
Yeah, thank God.
And we want a destination wedding. So I don't know when that's going to happen. It affects me personally from that perspective too. So in terms of the wedding industry, I can empathise with that as well, because that affects my life.
Yeah, as a bride. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And as the catering industry, that affects my parents' business directly and affects our life directly. It's been tough. It's been a difficult year for lots of people.
So with Yuri was talking about affirmations and self-confirmation bias. There are things that we can do now in knowing this information, in understanding how this works after our conversation this morning, to help reframe and flip the story on some of this. There is opportunity to be had now. There are ways to work now if you are vulnerable with regards to your health. You're living proof. A number of Lizzie Barrett, one of our friend of the show, has a really severe autoimmune. Has been shielding for the longest time, and you can still do all of these things if you don't have to get lost and swallowed up just because you may fall into the vulnerable bracket. And Nicole, you're absolutely, inspirational living proof of this, of having to protect yourself and your health as well. And it's going back to boundaries being beautiful. You could quite easily be swayed by the people that are out there that are going, it's just the flu, or don't wear a mask, or all of this. But your boundary is that you want to look after your health, so that you can have the life that you want when all this is blown over, and also you can still serve the people who you are serving. And it is with that in mind that if any of you are feeling a little bit antsy out there and a little bit funny about everything out there, let's have a look at working on that self-confirmation bias. Let's confirm better things for ourselves, and let's have a look at that as maybe one of the boundaries you guys can be working on today.
One of the things that's really helped me is I keep telling myself, focus on what you can control.
Yeah.
Control my controllables. My dad always says that. Focus on what you can control and let go of the rest.
Yeah. Because you can't, because otherwise you're just going to be anxious. You're just going to, and all anxiety and all worry does is rob you of your sense.
Yeah.
Because you're worrying about stuff that hasn't even happened yet. And if in this moment, and this is all, if you are feeling anxious out there, in this moment, just keep asking, am I in danger in this moment? If the answer is no, you're okay.
Yeah.
In this moment, am I okay? Well, yeah, I'm still okay. Oh, good. And you can only think about right now. In this moment, are we still okay? Well, fuck yeah, brilliant. Well, we'll keep going. So, doing that and knowing that in this moment, what can you control? Well, we control that we're having a really great conversation this morning. We can control that, the people that are watching out there are going to benefit from, having, being able to think about these things. And we can control the fact that, like for you, for example, not wanting to go out and making sure that you're protecting your health and safety in your bubble. That's one of the things that you can control. As soon as you start buggering off outside, you can't control that anymore. So, okay, then.
Well, I think since March, I've been out twice. So I went to my cousin's on Saturday to see her new house. She was meant to get married in the beginning of September, and that got moved. So I went to see her new house. That was really difficult. I came home with a migraine, and
because you do you hold it all here.
Yeah.
Do you like this when you're feeling anxious?
I drove. I went with my mum. And she had to drive home. I felt like a child. I was like, "Mummy, please drive home." I was like, "For God's sake!" I help people to make like thousands and hundreds of thousands of pounds. I was like, and I can't even drive myself home. I was like, "What is going on here?"
It's perfectly natural. Like if I look for my dad, my stepdad has bowel cancer. He's currently in. Yesterday, he had his whole bowel removed. Yesterday, it's a massive big operation. So which he's recovering from. He's fine. Like he's in, they're really looking after him. He's done great. But in the weeks leading up, he was super vulnerable. He's got bowel cancer, he's got diabetes, all of these things that they say, you're the most vulnerable for. And my mum was the same. My mum has been having to shield with him. So when she's had an opportunity to go out, she's come back inside and she's that drained from the anxiety of the potential of coming back into the house with something that could potentially kill her husband. She's like, you're right, you've got to take to your bed after you've had that kind of stress. That's real stress. That's, that's not, you're not behaving like a child where that's concerned. If you're holding that kind of anxiety, God, that's a tension headache and a half.
And that part, I think as well, people, that stress and the way that it manifests itself, it can manifest itself in so many different ways. And it's a refreshing conversation because I don't think a lot of people are willing to have it because they're not acknowledging other people's feelings. And it doesn't need to be like an ongoing conversation, but sometimes people just need to feel heard.
Check in.
Yeah, and just make sure people are okay because not everybody's feeling the way that you're necessarily feeling. If you're okay about it, or if you're not, like, just and a lot of people, because of the way that I am online, and I'm very good at my job and very good at my role, and I'm very good at what I do and everything else, and I am the supporter of others in my life and my business. And when I do say that I feel this way, people are like, "Really? You're like, you're actually feeling like that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm finding it really hard." And like, so I don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news for probably 6 years anyway.
Yeah.
But then it's
so freeing. That's why I do this show, so I don't have to watch it.
It's a much better version of whatever. And I started watching it at the beginning of lockdown, and then I was like, "What are you doing? Why are you watching the news? This is really stupid." So I turned that off. And then again, put yourself back in control, put yourself in the driving seat. And that's again what a strategy gives you in anything, whether that's your business or your life. Your strategy gives you that control over whatever you're doing. And a lot of my clients, whether it's about lockdown or whatever it is in their business or life, you look at a strategy for what your next steps are.
Absolutely.
And that's what your strategy gives you, and that's what I help people to do generally. And what I've basically done is I've applied that to however I feel as well. So what's the next step? What do you want to get to eventually? Where does this want to go? So eventually I want to be able to go and see my nan, which I did yesterday. Thank God I went yesterday.
Amazing. Yeah, thank God. We had the letter through yesterday that's it. It's one person, one visit per month now. And me and my sister both care for my dad. So it's a bit shitty. So I'm so glad you got to see your grandma yesterday.
And that's the other thing, isn't it? It's the in between. So we have to do the same.
It's crackers. It's crackers. But you know, we've got to remember, we've got to hold fast in the fact that it is finite, and this too shall pass. And you know, when you put the plans in to look after yourself now, you've still got all the plans to look after yourself going forward. And you know, as a result, you're controlling your controllables, and your outcomes are going to be those things that you choose. So, Nicole, what are you excited about? Give me something that you're excited about. What's coming up for you?
Oh, what is coming up for me? I currently have at the moment my one-to-one spots open to work with me in October. What month are we even in? In October.
Don't ask me. I don't know.
In October, and I have just closed the doors to my early bird for my beta course, to help you with working smarter in your business. That is the title, Working Smarter. And if you want to come on to the beta launch for the open doors, that's opening next week.
How exciting.
Which is very exciting. So that's the kind of things that are coming up next, which I always announce first to my Facebook group. They all get early dibs on all the things.
Yeah, that's the perks. The Hive get the same. It's like community perks, man. It's good.
That's kind of what's coming up for me. I've got so many exciting plans, as as my brain works at 500 miles an hour.
My husband, my ops manager is like, what now? Wait, what now? What are we doing next? I'm like, well.
Whenever I try and run my other half through something that I've come up with, again, he's like, "Come, are you sure? Like, do you want to just slow down?" And I'm like, "Don't stop me now." So
we've got to do. Come on, let's go, everybody.
So they're the exciting things. I've got one-to-one spots for October, and then my course about managing your business. And the thing that I'm really passionate about as well is that with all of the things about designing your life and your business, is doing it your way. So it doesn't have to be just the way, especially as a coach, it doesn't have to be the way that I've done it or that just my clients do it. I teach you how to do it your way. So you can adapt and shift and change this to you.
Amazing.
Which is what I'm really, really excited about. And then my next things that are coming up, they're really exciting.
Amazing. What else? Are they your next things that are coming up? I love it. So you've got your cart is opening next week, is that right? So you've got your early birds, and then
it will be, but it's really limited spots because it's a beta. It's the first time I've done it.
You don't want numbers and numbers and numbers. You just want to be able to look after the people that come through the door. I did the same. It's the right thing to do, isn't it?
It's a super cheeky price as well because it's a beta. So
cheeky, right? So if you have enjoyed our conversation this morning, and I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation this morning, Nicole, can I just say it's been so interesting to talk to you. You know, I could speak to you for hours. If you have or anything that Nicole has been saying this morning has resonated with you, please do go and check her out. Nicole, would you please put the links to anything you want to put links to in the comments on this, so the people that are watching along can come and get amongst your stuff should they want to. Nicole, while it has been an absolute pleasure, thank you for joining me on the show at Rise Up Show this morning.
Thanks for having me.
What an absolute powerhouse. Oh my God, I'm in love. I've got a girl crush. Thank you to Nicole for joining us this morning. What an interesting conversation, especially talking around that self-confirmation bias now more so than ever. If you go back to thinking about how, you know, the news runs us. I watched the news the other night, and it went on to speak about how it's going to be a bleak winter. Bollocks. It doesn't have to be a bleak winter, not if you've got all the things in place that you need, and starting with which getting amongst the BHers who want to be a speaker challenge to get talking about what it is that you do so that you don't fade into the ether. It's so important. How to get involved is going along the ticker, has been all the way through the show today. I've gone out of focus. There we go. Have an incredible Wednesday. Happy hump day, you guys. We have got stuff to do. You will be able to catch me in a number of groups over the course of today, actually. I'm going live. Where am I going live? I'm all over the spot. I'm with Jane Baker in the Limitless Life Lounge at 12 o'clock, and with the Milestone Mums at 1 o'clock, and with the gorgeous Kinder at 2 o'clock today. And then tonight is the Great British Entrepreneurial Awards. You guys, we get to find out whether I am the regional winner for the Entrepreneurial Spirit Awards for the National Great British Entrepreneur Awards. Did I say that right? The Great British. They give me a chufty badge. I got a Chufty badge. I'm a finalist. So I'll tell you in the morning whether I've won, or I'll tell you on Facebook tonight, won't I, if I have. If not, don't matter. To be nominated, to be part of the finalist on particularly that panel is absolute joy, and I'm thrilled to pieces. So I will catch you later on today. I'm going to do a little live later on today as well, sharing with you about networking and how that can help you and your business. Right, you guys, have an incredible day. Make sure you're following me, the Queen Bee Dani, across the socials on Instagram. Make sure you carry on the conversation there in the IATQB hive, and I will see you all bright and breezy in the morning talking to the glorious timeless stylist Amy Hutch. I'll see you at 8 o'clock tomorrow.